All right, Detective, welcome. Get ready because today we are going on an adventure into the past. Our mission is to uncover some of history's greatest secrets using the clues people left behind. So let's get our investigation started. Every good mystery starts with a question, right? So here's our first one, a real head scratcher from a long, long time ago. Have you ever stopped and wondered, what did kids just like you play with 4,000 years ago? Well, check this out. This is our very first piece of evidence. And would you believe it? These are actual toys from 4,000 years ago. Kids way back then played with stuff just like this, all made out of clay. Now, the big question is, how on earth do we know that? How can we be so sure how old they are or who used them? Well, that's exactly what our mission is today. We're going to learn how to be history detectives and solve these amazing puzzles from the past. Okay, so to solve this mystery, every single history detective has to start with the basics. We need to know what we're even looking for. So, what is history anyway? Think of history like the biggest, most epic storybook ever written. And it's not just about famous kings and big battles. No, it's the story of everyone who's ever lived. What they ate for breakfast, the games they played, what they were afraid of, all of it. And our job, as detectives, is to figure out how all those pages of the story connect to each other, and even to us today. Now, before we just dive into the past, every good detective needs one crucial thing, a map. But we don't need a map of roads and cities. We need a time map. This is going to help us figure out exactly where and when we are in that giant storybook. So our time map is basically split into two huge sections. First up, we have prehistory. This is the super, super old part of the story before anyone had invented writing. So for this whole era, our only clues are physical things we can find. Old tools, bones, stuff like that. Then, about 5,000 years ago, things changed. We entered the history zone. This is when people started writing things down, which is awesome for us because now we have written stories and all those physical clues to help us solve our cases. Whoa, just look at this timeline for a second. It really shows you how incredibly long the human story is. I mean, we're talking about millions of years ago when the first humans were using simple stone tools. Then you jump forward to learning how to farm, then inventing writing, and then way, way closer to our time, you get these incredible inventions like the steam engine. It's a massive story. So, with a timeline that long, how do you even keep track of it all? It could get super confusing, right? Well, historians came up with a really clever system to keep everything neat and organized. They use something called BCE and CE. The easiest way to think about it is like a number line you'd see in math class. Right in the middle, you've got year one. Everything that happened before that year is called BCE, which stands for Before Common Era. And for these years, we count backwards. So the year 200 BCE happened before the year 100 BCE. Kind of weird, right? Then, everything after year one is CE, or Common Era. And for these, we count forward, just like we do today. This system lets us put any event, any clue, in the exact right spot on our time map. All right, our map is sorted. We know how to read the timeline. Now it's time for the really fun part, opening up our detective's toolkit. Every great detective has special tools, and ours are all about finding and understanding clues from the past. Our toolkit has two main trays. In the first tray, you've got your archaeological sources. These are the physical things, the actual objects people left behind that we can dig up and hold in our hands. And in the second tray, you've got literary sources. These are the written clues, the stories, the letters, the records people wrote down. So the detectives who use that first tray of tools, the physical stuff, have a special name. They're called archaeologists. You can think of them like treasure hunters, but the treasure they're looking for isn't gold and jewels. It's clues about how people lived their everyday lives. And this picture shows you exactly what they do. It's not just digging with big shovels. No way. They work so carefully, using tiny little brushes and tools to uncover these things called artifacts. That's just a fancy word for anything made by a human a long time ago. You have to be super patient to be an archaeologist. So what kind of treasure are they looking for? Well, it could be something like this old clay jar, which someone might have used for cooking dinner thousands of years ago. Or maybe they'll find some ancient money, like this gold coin. They even find these cool stone seals that people used to stamp their name on things, kind of like a signature. Okay, let's switch over to the other tray on our toolkit, the literary sources. These are just as important. These are the stories and messages people left behind in writing. Sometimes they're manuscripts, which are things written by hand, and sometimes they're inscriptions, which are words that have been carved into something hard, like stone. And here are two perfect examples. On the left, can you believe it? That's a manuscript written on a dried palm leaf? How cool is that? And on the right, you've got an inscription that someone chiseled right into a big stone pillar. These kinds of clues tell us all sorts of things, like what the laws were, what poems people liked, or what great kings did. All right, detective, let's do a quick check. Time map, got it. Toolkit, ready to go. I think it's time to put your new skills to the test. Let's try to crack a few real cases from the past. Here we go. Case file number 1. We're looking at one tiny clue, a single ancient coin. At first glance, it's just a piece of metal, right? But what secrets is it hiding? What story is it just waiting to tell a detective like you? You would be amazed. Just one coin can tell us a ton. First, it can tell you who the ruler was, because their face and name is usually right there on it. That also tells you the time period it was made. The type of metal, gold, silver, bronze, tells you what their money was like. And here's the really cool part. If you find that coin hundreds of miles from where it was made, you know that people were trading with each other across huge distances. Wow, that is a lot of information from one tiny clue. Okay, so we've learned all the skills. You know how to be a history detective. You've got your map, you've got your tools, but so what? Why is this whole mission so important? Why do we even care about stories from thousands of years ago? Well, this is the real treasure at the end of the adventure. Studying history isn't just about boring dates and names. It actually makes you a better thinker. It teaches you to ask questions and not just believe everything you hear. It helps us learn from mistakes people made in the past so we don't repeat them. It helps us understand who we are and where we come from. And it makes our world today make a lot more sense. It even helps us understand people from different cultures. It's kind of like a superpower. And with that, congratulations, detective. You have officially learned the essential skills of being a time traveler. So before you head off on your next adventure, let's just do a quick recap of your new detective powers. First, you can read a time map using BCE and CE, no problem. Second, you know all about your tools, the difference between a physical artifact and a written source. Third, you know how to take those clues and piece them together to tell a story. And fourth, and maybe the most important, you understand why these stories from the past matter so much. You're ready. You can tackle any mystery the past throws at you. So, for your next mission, I want you to think about this. 100 years from now, or even 1,000, some other history detective might be studying our time. What clues about your life will they find? What will your toys, your books, your video games, your text messages, what will all that stuff tell them about you? The adventure never really ends, does it?